In these last few months, the manga for Jujutsu Kaisen has very clearly begun entering its final stages, and because of this, we've also been experiencing a lot of deaths from both new and old characters. The question regarding Jujutsu Kaisen's treatment of his cast has always been a pretty debatable topic, which goes all the way back to Junpei in season 1. However, more recently, I've definitely started seeing an increase in people who hold the opinion that a lot of times, JJK does waste his characters, often killing them before they can reach a satisfying conclusion. In this video, I'll be talking about some of the more recent character deaths which have raised a lot of controversy, those being Yuki, Kashimo, and Kenjaku. If you're wondering why I'm not mentioning Gojo and Higuruma, that's mainly because from what I've seen, most of the JJK fanbase does seem to be satisfied with both their deaths, and I feel the three I mentioned previously just hold a lot more controversy. But if you guys do want a part 2, just drop it down below in the comments and I'd be happy to look into it. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel as always if you enjoyed the video. Yuki Tsukumo is probably one of the most well-liked characters in the entirety of the Jujutsu Kaisen community. We were first introduced to her in Todo's flashback, then again in Hidden Inventory, before finally seeing her at the end of the Shibuya incident. Being one of the 4 special grades, she has always been super important to the story, and her interaction with Geto can be seen as one of the most crucial moments in all of JJK. So why do some people think she's a wasted character? Well, to start with, she's the only special grade we've never seen win a fight, which is pretty insane. For a character as built up as Yuki to just be defeated and die so quickly, it really does make sense as to why many feel like she was wasted. For me personally, I disagree with the sentiment. As important as Yuki's role in the story is, her own ideology and character make something very clear. She's completely selfless. We first see this during her conversation with Geto, where she makes it clear that her entire life goal is to guarantee the safety of sorcerers and non-sorcerers by getting rid of cursed energy. Her entire character is grounded in her sacrificing herself for the greater collective, and we see this clearly in the fight with Kenjaku. First of all, not only is the fight between Yuki and Kenjaku great from an action point of view, but it also acts as a very important reminder that even special grade sorcerers aren't safe from the dangers of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. It's in this fight where we see multiple displays of Yuki being selfless. She sacrifices herself to give Choso an opportunity to escape, and even in death, she still holds back a black hole from harming the rest of the world. Her death allowing Choso to carry on living is an act which encapsulates the idea of self-sacrifice for the greater good. It is Choso surviving which leads into Yuji's development, something we see in the small flashback between Yuki and Choso. And we also had a similar instance with Todo, where Yuki finding and training Todo is what led to Yuji getting to where he is now. In the end, her selflessness is probably going to play a massive role in the defeat of Sukuna, as she's indirectly influenced Yuji to an extreme extent. While yes, it would have been nice to get a few more moments before she was killed off, Yuki's death is a perfect conclusion for a character and what she stands for. She was never going to defeat Kenjaku, but her actions will be part of the greater collective efforts from everyone else, such as for instance her indirect influence in Yuji and how that will likely lead to him defeating Sukuna and saving the world of JJK. Hajime Kashimo, a reincarnated sorcerer from 400 years ago, easily destroyed panda who can be argued as the strongest in the Edo period around Ryu's time. He probably has multiple binding value types to his curse technique. Yeah, the way Kashimo went out was pretty sad. I mean, throughout the entire Culling game, we were constantly reminded of how strong this guy was. We knew a sorcerer's curse technique makes up for most of their power, and even then, Kashimo was still able to hang with special grade level characters in base. I think everyone was expecting Kashimo to at least put up a fight against Sukuna, but when it finally happened, the way Kashimo lost is probably what put a bad taste in everyone's mouths when it came to his character. And the thing is, when it comes to Kashimo himself, I don't actually think his character was wasted, but instead his fight with Sukuna had a lot of wasted potential. It feels like Gege just straight up used Kashimo as a hype tool for Sukuna's new form. Kashimo himself was even glazing him for half the fight, and it's like, yeah, I guess it does make sense for Sukuna to destroy him, but there are ways Gege could have made the fight a lot more fun. We could have had more moments between Sukuna and Megami's body versus Kashimo, rather than Sukuna just transforming straight away, and even after he did transform, there could have at least been more panels of him throwing Kashimo around. Like, we didn't even get a whole chapter dedicated to the fight after Sukuna's transformation. As for Kashimo's character, I actually think the opposite, and that his conclusion was honestly great. To give a rough summary on my take of the narrative behind the fight between Kashimo and Sukuna, it's essentially Sukuna teaching Kashimo about the ideology of becoming the strongest. Kashimo's entire character is based on a flawed ideology. He wants to be strong, and he does succeed in that goal. In his flashback, we see him surrounded by the dead bodies of those who have challenged him. And his introduction, he's established as the Culling game player with the most kills and points. Even Sukuna says so, about how Kashimo must have been challenged many times in the past, but despite this, he still remained the strongest. And this is where the issue with Kashimo comes from. He wants to be the strongest, but at the same time, he also dislikes solitude. What Kashimo doesn't realize is that in Jujutsu Kaisen, the strongest must always bear the solitude that comes from their strength. We see this with not only Kashimo, but also Gojo, Sukuna, and even Yorozu. That's why Sukuna himself says Yorozu should have tried teaching Kashimo love, as he is someone who doesn't want to hold on to that solitude. Sukuna's declaration that love is worthless and his disregard for everyone else is essentially him teaching Kashimo that to become the strongest, he mustn't be restrained by solitude. Being lonely isn't necessary for the strongest, something Kashimo doesn't yet realize. He wants Sukuna to teach him about strength, but that very validation Kashimo desires shows he still regards others and isn't entirely selfish. In the end, Kashimo was still lonely, but the fact that he wasn't prepared to fully abandon his ideals is the reason as to why he lost. Whereas Gojo acknowledges his loneliness, but still bases his ideology around protecting others, and Sukuna acts as the complete opposite of that, Kashimo is in the middle. His strength means he is lonely, but at the same time, he fails to fully become selfish or selfless, an uncertainty and resolve which makes his defeat at the hands of Sukuna something inevitable. On to the most recent death in Jujutsu Kaisen, Kenjaku. He's been around ever since the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen, with many people even considering him to be the main villain of the story, which is why going into the final arc of JJK, a lot of people were expecting him to have a major role in fighting the protagonists. But after only a few chapters against Takaba, Ita managed to sneak behind him and get a death blow, resulting in what seems to be the end of Kenjaku. I'm going to be going under the assumption that Kenjaku is truly dead, since I do believe that is the most likely scenario, but there is still a chance he somehow comes back, so just keep that in mind. Going back to the main topic, if Kenjaku has really died, was this character wasted and killed off too early? Personally, I do not think this is the case. In terms of fights and screen time, Kenjaku is one of the characters with the most in Jujutsu Kaisen. Not only have we gotten multiple interactions between him and the rest of the cast, but he's also had two extremely fleshed out fights. His battle against Yuki, Choso, and Tengen is one of the best in all of JJK, where we got a lot of hype moments, the first look at his domain, and found out why he's so highly regarded as a Jujutsu sorcerer. More recently, his fight with Takaba was also super interesting. We got another look into Kenjaku's ideology and character, and for the first time, we saw him praise and actually have fun with another character. All this to say, a full-blown fight between Kenjaku and Yuta would have been great to see, but I don't think us missing that fight means he was wasted. While there are some techniques from Kenjaku we aren't really sure on, we've still pretty much seen everything he has to offer from a Jujutsu perspective, so having additional fights isn't really needed. As for his character itself and his conclusion, I also think his death is very fitting. Particularly Kenjaku's goals, him wanting to evolve humanity into a greater power is very similar to, say, a mad scientist trying to succeed in an experiment. The reason as to why Kenjaku even wants to create the merger all boils down to his curiosity regarding the creation of something he cannot control. And this is a crucial theme for his character. Kenjaku creating something he cannot control just for the fun of it is something we are literally seeing right now. Even with the merger aside, Sukuna's return, Yuji's role, and pretty much the entirety of the battle in Shinjuku has been a result of Kenjaku's massive plot. He has set the stage for this great final battle, but now that he is dead, there is nothing he can do to affect it. As he himself said, he has created a chaos that even he cannot control, a line which can be attributed to both the merger and the current fight against Sukuna. Kenjaku's only regret is that he wished to see the merger's finalization, like a scientist dying right before seeing the results of their efforts. But even with Kenjaku's death, the chaos that he has created will not just end, and the fact that Kenjaku won't be present to see such chaos, the fact that he has essentially been split from his chaos, it all acts as a great example that with his death, he has managed to create something uncontrollable that is truly beyond him. It has been Kenjaku's goal ever since the beginning of the story to do so, making his conclusion a very fitting end for his character and everything he embodies. To finish things off, I want to make it clear that if anyone disagrees with my takes or my interpretations of these characters, then that's completely fine, and it was probably Geki's intention to leave some things ambiguous when it came to writing the story. If you haven't been able to tell by now, I don't think neither Yuki, Kashimo, or Kenjaku were wasted characters. All three of them had very satisfying conclusions to their character arcs, and in the end, managed to influence the narrative in some way. If you've enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1k subscribers before summer, so if you guys could help me achieve that, I would really appreciate it. Also, comment down below what you guys think when it comes to wasted characters in Jujutsu Kaisen, as this is a very debatable topic and I'd be interested in hearing everyone else's opinions. Other than that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. Before we kick off the video, if you're looking for some high quality anime merch and just overall accessories that are also very affordable, then please make sure to check out Anime Express. The link will be in the description, and if you want to support me as well, please don't forget to use my code HEAVYOTHER10 for a 10% discount, as that would really help a ton. Other than that though, I'm out.